Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today with my reviews of the 5 books that were shortlisted for the JCB Prize 2020, and I should have filmed this video earlier in the week, but I am filming it on the day that this video needs to go up. I will be reviewing these 5 books today, and I will try to predict who will win. I mean, I'm not great at predictions. Only thing is that I'm a little optimistic when it comes to these because I know which book I want to win. So the books I'll be talking about today are Prelude to a Riot by Ani Zaidi, Mustache by S. Harish and translated into English by Jayashree Kalathil, Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu, These Are Bodies Possessed by Light by Dharini Bhaskar, and Gin Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anapara. So what I will be doing is I will go through these books in the order in which I liked them. Like, I'm going to go from the book I least liked to the book I loved, because there are both on the spectrum, and I will try to explain in as short a manner as possible as to why I liked or did not like a particular book, which is the whole point of a book review. So without further ado, let's get into this video and let me share with you my reviews of the 5 books that were shortlisted for the JCB Prize 2020, and let me tell you which book I am hoping will win this award this year, because that's a phenomenal book. So the first book that I will be talking about is Mustache by S. Harish and translated into English by Jayashree Kalathil. I did not like this book as much as I wanted to like it. This is the story of Vavachan, or Mustache as he is called throughout the book, who is a Pulayan, and he lives in the Kuttanad region of southwest Kerala. He gets the opportunity to play a huge mustached policeman in a play that comes to their village, and he does not want to take it off later. The other characters, the other actors are also affected, but not in a way that Mustache is, because in their community men don't keep mustaches, and this guy, in addition to his mustache and in addition to his girth, his height, he becomes somewhat of a phantom menace kind of guy in the whole village and the surrounding villages as well, and people start making up stories about him, making up legends about him, and his mustache grows a life of its own throughout this book, and it traverses through Kuttanad's geography, through the canals, through the lakes, through the rivers, through the plantations, through the fields, and it becomes a legend that people tell to each other and that people tell to their children as well. And the impact that mustache has on the people is completely frightening to see. The moment mustache is mentioned, people go bonkers. They are scared, but they are also angry, especially because they can't do anything to him, and that's what they think. And this whole thing, mustache and his mustache, they turn into this, large mythic kind of presence in their midst. Let me talk about the writing in this book first. I feel like every time a book is translated, some essence of it slips out. It's lost in translation, and I feel that's exactly what happened with this book as well. The writing, I felt, was really clunky in a lot of places. It was not bad, but because how the English, in an attempt to become lyrical and to be like very hard hitting, it loses the essence of what the original author was trying to say. I almost DNF'd this book, but I thought, okay, why not give it another chance? And even till the very end, even though I was not more annoyed by it, I felt that okay, I gave it a chance, but I still have these feelings about it, that the writing wasn't that great. So I gave this a 3 stars, especially because of the subjects that it handles, casteism and politics and so much more. And the only thing that I really liked about this book, and which actually gave me the impetus to push forward, was the description of the geography of Kerala. I loved how the author has woven the story around Kerala's geography, and even though at times I felt like all the characters were doing was jumping in and out of canals and just running through fields, I felt that that was okay. There's a lot of caste privilege, caste politics, and the characters are a lot problematic, but that is what the author as well as the translator have mentioned at the beginning of the book, by saying that this is going to happen, but this is just a reflection of what society is of the region that the author has written about. And I felt that that disclaimer was very important. So to wrap it up, I just want to say that I really want to say that this picking this book back up after chucking it aside and DNFing it was a good idea, but I can't say that truthfully. And I just found this book unnecessarily tedious. The timelines were all over the place. There was information dump everywhere going on. There's no time for you to emerge from one particular information dump before you're pushed into another. And it's this very information dump that sort of makes the metaphors that the author has used here, it sort of makes it all meaningless, for me at least. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of this book. Next up is Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu. This is also a book that is really difficult to get in. In the first 80 odd pages, there is a lot of information dump like it happened in this book. And it sort of makes you want to feel like, no, I can't get through this. But when you keep going, it gets a lot better. And this is such an important book, because this is set in a future which is an extension of the world we are living in. If things are going the way they are going right now, then this is the best case scenario, as the author has put it in his afterword. This is the story of Joey, who's a reality controller for a flow star. Flows are these things in which you can broadcast your daily life to your fans. You can script them, you can do impromptu things, you can do anything, but you need to cater to your fans. And Joey is the best reality controller there is. But one day what happens is she rescues an old friend called Rudra from a situation, and then things start going downhill. And how Joey and Rudra will emerge from this, I don't want to say that it forms the entire story, because there's so much more to this than just that. There are so many topics that the author has included in this book, and he has addressed and talked about in an amazing manner, that I was stunned to see them in this futuristic fiction book. And he talks about government meddling with privacy. He talks about classism, casteism, racism, and misogyny, sexism, which, as we know, it's not going to go away anytime soon. But to see that this is touted as a best case scenario of today's world, and that all of these still exist, it sort of rankled me. But I'm like, okay, it's a book, we can change things. He also talks about the divide in religion and how it affects people, and how even in the future things are not going to go that well if we don't do something about it now. He addresses the glaring cracks of society and tradition that is sort of pushing people backward rather than pushing forward and making progress. And there's a lot to unpack in this book. The ending I was not really happy with, you could call it, on first glance, on the first read. But I thought that life has almost never gone according to our terms. There's always some obstacle or always some hurdle. So I felt that ending should be taken as sort of a baton in a relay race, like where the author is just handing you this thing, this whole future that he has envisioned, and he's urging you to make a change, urging us all to make a change in today's world, so that the world does not become the way that he has encompassed in these 250 odd pages. And it is scary as hell, but the author has also said in an underlined tone throughout the book, it's not like very hopeful. It's just saying that, see, if you don't do anything now, this is going to happen. And if people are brave enough to speak up, then the world will be a much better place in the future. I came out of this book feeling rather unsettled, but I also think that, okay, there must be hope somewhere, right? Next up is Prelude to a Riot by Annie Zaidi. This is set in a small town in Kerala, among lush spice plantations, but there is trouble brewing. 3 generations of 2 families are in this town, and one family is Hindu, one is Muslim. And the thing about this book is that I cannot explain this book to you, because it is so hard-hitting, it's so familiar. It makes you want to say that I have never met a person like this in your life, but you have come across them somewhere at any point in time, be it online, be it in real life. This is the story of 3 generations of 2 families, as I've already mentioned before. One Hindu, one Muslim, and their thought processes about how community is seen and how outsiders are seen. There's massive xenophobia in here, and there's also Islamophobia, and how the Self-Respect Forum, which is a group of people who is not ready to see their town, their religion overcome by another, they begin to spread communal hate, and how this leads up to that last riot, because this is the story of that, the prelude to a riot, how it all builds up, how it worms its way to the front, and how it makes its way into community, into society. This is a story of that. This is a very short book. It is 181 pages, and it's very easy to read, but it's also very difficult to read because it makes you really uncomfortable. See, the thing is, I can't talk much about this book, especially because one, it's a short one, and two, I've already said what it is about, and if I say anything else, I will be giving away the whole plot of this book, the whole essence of this book. So I don't want to do that, but still I feel like this is an important book that you must read. It's hard hitting, it hits you where it counts, and it will probably, hopefully, wake the people up. Next up is Gin Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anapara. I finished reading this book at 3 in the morning today. Gin Patrol on the Purple Line is the story of Jay and his two friends Pari and Fez, who live in a basti, in a slum. We are not told which city this is set in, but they live in a slum, and one of their friends goes missing. So Jay thinks that he will become a detective and he will find out where his friend is with the help of Pari and Fez. But in this detectiving thing that they go on, in this whole quest that they are on, more children go missing and a lot of dark things emerge. And in his quest to find the truth by watching the TV show Police Patrol, Jay thinks that he will be able to solve the case, he will be able to find his missing friend. But because of this entire, so many people going missing, so many children going missing, they have to now contend with heartbroken parents, a police force which is like, they'll come back, the kids, they'll come back, or you shouldn't have let them go. Or in the case of a woman, like, what do you think would happen to her if she is walking out so late? And that made my blood boil. And Fez is convinced that there are jinns who are kidnapping the children and who are eating their souls and whatnot. And in this whole investigation, what comes of it and what new truths will Jay, Pari, Fez and the rest of the slum people have to find out, and how they will cope with this whole thing, forms the entire story. And I love this book. I absolutely love how this book is written. I love it especially because it's not written in a way which would have been used to maybe impress Shakespeare. It is simple, it's written very simply, and you can fly through this book like I did. I started it day before yesterday. I read like 20 pages, and then yesterday I finished the whole thing, and this is about 340 pages long. And this talks not only about children disappearing from slums, child trafficking and all that, it also talks about the religious divides, about the divides between the rich and the poor, and how people treat the rich and the poor. And I really felt bad reading this book while hoping that there was hope by the end of the book. And you know, the best part of this book, it was that it is narrated by a child and the innocence is there. I mean, you do get angry with Jay for a lot of reasons in a lot of places, because his innocence can also be, he cannot read the room. That's what his innocence translates into, and he just says the wrong things at the wrong times. But the writing is simple, it's beautiful, it's hard hitting, and you will absolutely love this book, especially because it's so easy to read. And I must say that Deepa Anapara has the gift of storytelling in a way that makes these characters stand out richly, and you will want to know these characters more. You just want to give these characters a big hug and reassure them that everything is going to be all right. And there are so many textures to these characters as well, because you cannot say that this person must have done this to not have gotten into this situation, but you can't say that because you have never been in that situation before. So that's another thing that I adored about this book, that there's so much research, there's so much pain involved and this upper layer of wit and humor that the author has used in a lot of places, it does not really conceal the pain, the seriousness of the subject that the author is talking about in this book. I would highly recommend this book. So now you know which is the book that I am hoping will win the JCB Prize 2020, and that is These Are Bodies Possessed by Light by Dharini Bhaskar. And this is a beautiful book. See, first of all, look at the cover. And I must say that the cover does supreme justice to whatever is inside, to the content that's inside, and I love this book so much. This is the story of Dia, who is in a marriage with a man who is away for a lot of times, and what she finds contentment in is that she reminisces her earlier affair with an older man. But when that goes sideways, now Neil is here to offer her romance and love and everything that comes with such a romance. But she has to find out whether what she is doing is right, and to do that she has to look into her own family's histories, because her mom and her grandmom have been sowing these seeds for a long time. So she goes through this whole rigmarole of going through her grandmother's story and her mother's story. This is in a non-linear narrative, but I really loved this book and how she has brought out her Amama's story and her mama's story, and it is so beautiful to read. My favorite character from this book is Amama for sure, because she is so fierce, she is strong, she is amazing. Even when she is pushed into a situation where she had no choice in, she brings out the best in herself, you could call it, and she does the best that she thinks she can do. And the whole speculation throughout the book of Dia, of how her mama used to live and how her mama used to live, must have lived, it forms the backbone of the story. And while Dia's mama and mama have had to make concessions with love, now Dia has to look into their stories to see if she can glean something off of them which will help her in her life, in maintaining her love life or her marriage, or how she has to look towards the future. And this book is a delight to read. I absolutely loved it, and I would highly recommend it because of the lyrical writing. It is beautiful. In no way do you feel bored at any place, because in addition to being lyrical, it is also fast paced. It squeezes the emotions from the sentences and dumps them into you, and you feel that in every nerve, every joint and every vein in your body. And maybe because of this you can really understand this phrase, these are bodies possessed by light, because of how full this book makes you feel, and also it makes you feel like you're hollow. It's a sort of a paradox that happens, like you feel full as well as you feel a hollow. You feel that black hole inside of you, but you also feel a star burning bright inside of you because of this book. And it is something to behold. It's a sight that will blow your mind, because you will never have thought that you will ever have read a book this way and felt this way about the story that you have just read. It is amazing, and I finished this at about I think late in the night, I'm not sure when, and I couldn't sleep for a long time after that. I felt so full after reading this that I got everything that the author was trying to say, but also what she was not trying to say. It made me feel connected with the author and with the story and with the characters. I love this book. Please read it. So those were my reviews of the books shortlisted for the JCB Prize 2020, and I not so much predict as much as hope that These Are Bodies Possessed by Light will win this year, and I really hope it wins. I have a feeling Mustache will win, but I really want this to win. I don't know how that's going to turn out because I'm really bad at predicting. So all I can say is I want this book to win. I'm okay with the others, but not so much. I would be really heartbroken if this did not win. Which ones have you read? Which ones do you want to read? Did you like this video? Did you like my reviews? Will you go ahead and read these books after hearing my reviews of these books? But yes, let me know if you want to read any of these books, or if you have read, and we can have a discussion in the comments below. Please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.